is, now the old concept was that people would have a thrusting spear like this, and that they would run up to a mammoth and and stabbing it, and the mammoth would go and then fall down on the spear, and you know, whatever. Hey folks, Ryan Gill here with Hunt Primitive, where we entertain, educate, and inspire. And on this channel, we're working hard to get you where you want to be in your own primitive building and hunting adventures. And today I wanted to talk to you guys about the Clovis pike theory. And that's the idea in which you take these long spear poles and you take these here Clovis points and you put them on the end of these long pikes and you stick them in the ground, and then animals run and impale themselves on it and drive the spears deep into them. And that's a concept that UC Berkeley, I think, was the one that came up with that. And I suspect they probably don't have any primitive hunters that are working with them there. But as a primitive hunter, a professional primitive builder and hunter that's now killed over 80 big game animals with sticks and rocks, I've got a pretty good idea of what works and what doesn't work. And in this video, I'm kind of going to tell you as to why I don't think that that is really plausible. Has it perhaps been done and tried in history? I'm sure it has. I think everything's been tried, but I think they would have quickly found out exactly how I'm going to explain it to you today. Alright, so here's our spear that we're going to start with. And so just to give you the visual up front is, now the old concept was that people would have a thrusting spear like this, and that they would run up to a mammoth and and stabbing it, and the mammoth would go and then fall down on the spear, and you know, whatever. It's not going to work, because if you've ever seen a video, number one, the idea of running up and stabbing this into a mammoth, you're not going to even catch up to a bison, so forget about it. But let's say that the mammoth wanted to stay and fight. You ever seen a video? Although you can just go ahead and YouTube them at some point, elephants killing rhinos or water buffalo, they stomp them into a bloody puddle very, very easily. An elephant or a mammoth is not going to stand there and let a group of people run up and overwhelm it. It's going to turn, swing its trunk and its tusks, and it's going to smash and mow everybody down. Everybody's going to be dead. There's probably not going to be one survivor, because they're not probably going to run away. They're going to go on the offense and stump everybody into a bloody puddle. So this whole stabbing idea, that's not plausible in the real world. That is art depictions, and that's Hollywood, okay? Then the idea of having the pike and sticking it into the ground, and you are going to get, you know, a herd of bison running, or you're going to get a herd of mammoths running, and you're going to have these pikes set up like a wall of pikes, and they're going to be scared and running, and they're going to run and impale themselves. And sure, it sounds plausible when you think about it that way, but let's look at some of the mechanics and some of the things to consider, and as to why plausibly could it work. Yes, but why is it so drastically impractical? Let's use our little Bob the Bison toy here, and then just a little stick as a representation. Now, if you wanted an animal to actually run and impale itself, you would think that you would want it to be able to run straight on, because anything that's at an angle like this, when it runs into it, what's it want to do? Fold this up. There's going to be a fulcrum point here. Now, let's talk about bison specifically a moment, okay? When a bison runs, sure, there's a lot more of them, but more times than not, a bison doesn't run with his head up like this. He doesn't run like that. He runs with his head down. So anything that's sitting here, it's probably going to hit its face first, you know, or the top of its head, and it's going to glance, because the skulls are exceptionally hard. Now, this may have triggered something in your head to say, oh, that makes sense. Maybe they did do this because there's that bison skull that's got that one projectile stuck right in here, so they probably did do that, and it probably ran in and impaled itself here. And is it plausible that that worked? I would say very implausible, but plausibly. I would say more than likely what happened, and we've seen this in our actual bison hunts where we actually go kill bison. Hit! Now take that! is, let's just say you've got a couple guys throwing at a bison, and I'll just use this as an example here that we're throwing from this side. If a spear comes in and hits it here, you're talking about a couple second flight time on an atlatl spear coming in, right? So one comes in, sticks it here. There's another in flight. This one turns and reacts and turns into the spear. We've seen this happen multiple times. This happens with arrows while hunting sometimes, that you shoot something and it will react to the shot. Modern bow hunters will even tell you that deer are so fast, even when shooting compound bows, sometimes they shoot, deer react, they spin, and they'll hit them somewhere they didn't mean to. Sometimes they kill them, sometimes they don't. So I would say that that point that's in the base of the horn of that bison is more than likely a projectile that came in and the animal turned, or it was running and they were trying to get a shot into the body here somewhere and just let it too much and hit it. So take that for what you will, but let's go back to this simple theory here. So if a bison's running with its head down, chances are it's going to deflect one of these spears. Okay, you're not going to hit it in the face and drive it all the way through its body. It's just not going to happen. Do they physically have the weight to make that happen? Yeah, I'm sure on a big full run, if they hit it, they could shove it all the way through their body. Problem, again, with that is you're going to have a failure probably either at your stone point, the haft, or the base, wherever it's stuck into the ground. It's going to probably bend. If that happened and actually held up, it would probably bend this and snap it, or break it at the base, or snap it and break it at the tip. It's not like this is a big iron spike. Stuff's made out of sticks and rocks, okay? Albeit perhaps stout sticks, but sticks just the same. Now, if you hit something on the side, on the shoulders, rib cages are kind of built like a wedge for kind of a reason. They're very hard to shoot animals even from the very front. It's not a common way of hunting like with arrows or spears. Generally, you want to attack from the side, the broad side. And hunters will tell you that if you hit the shoulders here, it's very robust and it'll glance off. And if you do get through, the ribs are very tight in the front and generally funnel everything away. So you're going to have another multitude of spears. They're going to run into them, and they're just going to simply deflect off to the side and shove this stick sideways. Okay, they might get wounded from it, but the chances of it actually killing them or slowing them down is very slim. Bison are exceptionally tough, and a little shoulder wound is not going to bother them at all. I have literally seen deer with arrows and modern broadheads that go between their shoulder blade and their body like this, and you'll never catch up to them, and they'll survive perfectly. So if it doesn't go in the chest cavity to the organs, you're not going to hit it unless you get a really lucky hit into a neck artery, which is very well protected by its head while it's running. Okay? And then if we think about that in elephants that do kind of run with their heads up, there's that plausibility, but again, you'd have to hit them perfectly in the chest, because if you're talking about any sort of tusks or its trunk, and elephants are pretty darn smart. If animals, what's a deer do? What's a deer do if it's running and there's a barbed wire fence? You can barely see the barbed wire fence, but a deer can be on a full run, boom, up and over that barbed wire fence or under it. Very rarely does a deer actually hit it. It happens, but very unlikely, not very often, let's say. So these animals would see a row of these pikes being put in the ground and simply go around them or prepare for them and knock them down. They may not know that they're sharpened sticks to penetrate and kill them, but they're going to realize that there's an obstacle there, and when animals run and see an obstacle, they generally brace for it to blow it out of their way. And again, it would have to be a perfect direct on hit to the chest, because unlike humans where you could stick us anywhere, if they're built like a wedge, it's gonna deflect off that rib cage. Imagine if we had a big wedge in the front of our chest as I'm doing this. It's gonna deflect. You have to hit it perfectly in this area, and the chances of getting up into the neck, again, on either a bison or a mammoth is gonna be really slim, and that would be an extremely lucky hit. In the case in which this would work is if you got lucky. But again, it's not running at it even like this. It's going to be at an angle. So whatever it hits, it's going to have to hit perfectly. And you're like, okay, well, let's just say that there's a whole bunch of bison. Oh, there's hundreds of bison or thousands of bison. Okay, how many perfect hits are needed to kill one? One perfect hit, right? So you're going to put out one spear? No, you'd have to make dozens. I bet you you could make 50 spears and run a herd of bison through it, and you'd be lucky to kill one. I bet. To get that perfect hit, I don't think that it's going to work. And mammoths, you're not talking about huge herds. You're talking about smaller herds, okay? And again, you're going to have to funnel them, and good luck herding a mammoth. I have a feeling that you could probably push them a little bit, but you watch how elephants react to hunters. When they feel threatened, that they say, that's it, I'm not running from you. I will a little bit. They'll charge after you. So that if you keep trying to chase them and push them, they're eventually going to have enough, and they're going to come stomp you into a bloody puddle. Okay, so the chances of you herding mammoths is pretty darn slim. It's hard to move something, the size of your garage. So, again, how many of these spears in a place that is not resource rich, if we're thinking the Ice Age or just after the Ice Age, a lot of North America is taiga forest, which would have some nice spruce poles, but a lot of the places that people are hunting are open grasslands. And many places throughout the Great Plains where they're proposing some of this, there's even fewer of these resources. A lot of smaller sticks and shrubs, but not a lot of poles. Do they exist? Sure, but you would need a tremendous amount of these to make a real wall, and then all the effort to try to drive animals through it. And you'd say, okay, well, we're going to do it. We're going to build hundreds of these spears, like in Braveheart. We'll build hundreds of them. And then the whole, it's Hollywood that does this. It's Braveheart, and it's the movie 10,000 BC, where he gets it stuck in the ground, and he's like, I can't get it out. And the mammoth falls on it and kills it. That's how people now get the creative juices going to say, oh, that's probably how they actually killed him. But you'd have to make hundreds of these points, hundreds of spears, and you would have a tremendous amount of loss and waste. You're going to have a lot of broken points after this. You're going to have a lot of broken spear shafts, and now you have to either splice them and repair them, and it's like not very efficient. But you know what is efficient? Or let me put it this way. Now that we've explained all of that, does that concept seem more plausible? Or does a small group of hunters that are highly skilled with atlatls taking one shot, we've shown this multiple times, one well-placed shot with an atlatl is more than sufficient to bring down a big bull bison rather quickly. When you get a couple into it, you're going to bring it down even quicker. Okay, now thinking about that as a mammoth, how robust they are in the front. And again, if we attack them broadside from the side, as the kill sites would indicate, that I would maintain, and this is something we're still working on, that it's not one person coming up and throwing a spear into it and then let's see what happens, and then everybody runs around, throwing spears, and they're running this way, and Jimmy's getting killed over here, and Bob's throwing spears into it this way. Highly unlikely even in that scenario. And on a little side note, before we get to more of the Pike theory talk, I still wanted to talk a little bit about the group overwhelm hunt theory. And while we've done videos and shown that that's not really the most efficient way to do it, was it done? I would say absolutely. We even have modern videos of Africans hunting hippos and elephants with hand-thrown spears, not atlatls. However, keep in mind that those were with steel projectiles, which do penetrate much better than stone, and they are using a very large group of people to overwhelm these animals. So I'm not saying that they never threw javelin-type spears and killed mammoths, but what I am saying is, even watching these people, they're not running up and stabbing them. They're throwing them at whatever distance they can to be safe. And obviously, And if you look at the screenshots that I'm able to show you, I can't show you the video really for copyright reasons, but I'm hoping I can get away with showing you some of these screen grabs, and you can go look up the video and watch it, and viewer discretion, of course, because if you're not used to seeing it, it could be disturbing to folks. But they're even throwing it like at the elephant's eyes. I mean, they're sticking this thing anywhere that they can get it because they're trying to disable it so they can just keep jabbing it with steel-pointed, hand-thrown spears. Obviously, none of them are running up and stabbing it. Same with the hippos or whatnot. You are going to get killed if you do that. So that's not an option. But I did at least want to make a point to say, yes, they probably did overwhelm some at some distances with great numbers of people. That's very plausible, although it is not the most efficient way, as we'll discuss later. But I did want to make sure I covered that base because it was important. I didn't want you to make it sound like I was saying that nobody ever overwhelmed animals all at once. And lastly, stone does not penetrate as easily as steel, so there will be some penetration differences, and we're not even entirely sure that you'd be able to hand throw a javelin like this and penetrate an elephant. However, with an atlatl, I'm exceptionally confident in it, and I'm not saying you can't do it with this, but what I am saying, spoiler alert, working here in the near future, we're going to start doing some more work to figure out, can we throw actual hand-thrown spears and get enough penetration to potentially kill not just a bison, but an elephant? If you asked me today to put this together and to go kill an elephant, I would have a team of guys. We know the distance in which the mammoths will allow us to get comfortably. We would inch our way in, just kind of creating ourselves into their environment. If we could sneak in there, great. But if not, sometimes animals just let you hang out and get closer and closer, like we did with the bison in the very first bison hunt video. You eventually, if you keep pushing them, they run. But if you just make yourself a part of their habitat and not a threat, you just inch closer and closer. Next thing you know, you're in range and you can take a killing shot. And if you do that, it would be really easy to have a group of guys with spears, say 30, 40, 50 yards, whether they're hidden or even in the open and the animal knows they're there, but you have an undetermined group of guys, and it's a synchronized shot that they have practiced many times, 1, 2, 3 whistles, and then it's a throw, whatever the system is. But if you have a volley of well-placed spears that hit a mammoth at 40 or 50 yards, not every one of them is going to be a perfect hit. Some of them might hit a rib and not penetrate. Some may hit the shoulder. Some may hit it back in the guts. But if you pepper this thing all at once, not chasing it around, because again, it's either going to get away or kill you, but if you pepper it all at once and then get out of there, then you can follow back up on it at a safe distance and likely recover that animal without loss of life. And that's a lot more plausible and practical than we're going to take these spears and run up and jab them, or stick these hundreds of these in the ground and then hope that one hits it perfectly. Because we're going to use far less resources by just doing it the old-fashioned way. And honestly, sometimes the simplest answer is the best answer. And that's what we do here at Hunt Primitive, is show you how to actually hunt. So hopefully this video helped you out a little bit. If you have any other questions, feel free to drop a message down in the comments and I will try to respond to you. I might have another video I can send you to. As long as you're respectful to me, I'm typically respectful back. But like I said, I'm not saying that I know everything that there is to know about this, but you'll learn a lot when you've killed over 80 big game animals with sticks and rocks. You figure out real quick what works and what doesn't work. So until next time, well, I guess maybe we'll just see you on the next hunting adventure.